Havaya lenegdi tamid. Havaya, Havaya, Havaya. Ahava, Ahava, Ahava. Havaya, Havaya, Havaya. Ahava, Ahava, Ahava. Sheviti, Havaya lenegdi tamid. Sheviti, Havaya lenegdi tamid.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so good to be together tonight. You know, I will admit there's something just like strange about having a little bit of light still behind me. This is a special time of year as the light comes back. And I have good news. You can bring Shabbat in early. That's not a problem. So we are perfectly on time no matter where the sun is in the sky in this particular instance. And so it's so good to be here with you all for Shabbat, to bring Shabbat in as this sacred community gathered tonight in the Mishkan. And for you, wherever you are online, wherever you are joining us from, we're glad that you are here with us too. We're going to continue with the words of Yedid Nefesh on page 105.
הטרח, מול הטרח, יהיה רב לא ידידותיו, מנוף עצוב וכל טעם. יאי די 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 די, יאי די די, יאי די די, יאי די 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 די. נפשי יכולת אהבתך, אהבתך. אנא אל נא רפנה לה בחרות לה, נועם צבך, נועם צבך. אז תתחזק ותתרפא והייתה לך שפחת עולם. יאי די 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 די, יאי די די, יאי די די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די די.
highlighting tonight can be found on page 106. And I would like to invite anyone and everyone who is appreciating this extra little moment of light that we have right now to come on up and light these congregational candles with me. And if you are not getting up right now, I don't believe you, because my heart has been done very well by the fact that there's just a little bit more daylight, so I can only imagine that yours is as well. And our Vice President of Membership, Ellen Cole, will light our congregational set. Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Thank you, everyone. Page 107, L'chuna Ranana.
Kadma fana betoda v'zmirot narealo. Neranena la fana betoda naria letzo yishenu dekadma fana betoda bizmirot narialo bizmirot narialo bizmirot narialo. Continue to welcome in Shabbat, Mizmor LeDavid, page 113 in the Mizmor LeDavid, Avol Adonai b'nei Eli. Adonai kivod כבוד שמו, השתחוו לאדוני בחרדת קודש, כל אדוני על המים, אל הכבוד הרים, אדוני על מים רבים, כל אדוני בכוח יעלה, כל אדוני בהדר, כל אדוני שובר ארזים, ישבר אדוני את הזה הלבנון, וירקידם כמו עקב לבנון, וסריון כמו בן רמים. כל אדוני חוצב למורש, כל אדוני יחיל מדבר, יחיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני יחולל איילון, ויחסון יהרון, ובכיכלו כולו אומר כבוד יעלה אלי, אדוני למעל והוא יחשב, ישב אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני עוז ליעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. יעלה אלי אלי אלי, יעלה אלי I could go all day. Rabbi.
I needed that. I needed that. Wow. Oh. So there is a line in this week's Torah portion where it talks about the 2 tablets of the 10 Commandments. And the Midrash describes these 2 tablets as being written inside and on both sides, so that no matter where you looked at them and no matter how you saw them, you could read them. But it wasn't that they were just inscribed on one side or the other side. There was something so special about God's own calligraphy that a word that read one way, one direction, if you read it in the opposite direction, it had a brand new meaning that opened up an entirely new level of the Torah to you. And the word that he specifically mentions in Talmud Shabbat 104a, Rav Chisda says, is nabub and buban. That there is a word for hollow and a word for empty, that when it's written backwards becomes the word for full and the word for completed. So, there's these little English games where we could try to do the same thing. One word that's written one way in English, and if you read it back to me backwards, it has the opposite same meaning. If you think of one, let me know. But I wanted to talk about specifically the power of Shabbat to do that exact thing. That you can come into this room and be depleted. You can come in and be exhausted. You can come in and be sad. You can come in and be a mourner. And there is a moment when something comes into this room and it begins to fill you up. And if what the cantor just did with Mizmor LeDavid did not do that for you, then you're not me. And that's okay. You don't have to be me. That is okay. But that is the spirit of the Torah that is visible from all sides. The Torah that fills us up from whatever direction we come at it, and the Torah that we bring into this moment of Lecha Dodi. Page 115, and a gentle, brief reminder. Do not sit down at the end.
לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה שמור וזכור ודיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשמו תפארת ולתהילה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי מקורך מרחם בראש מכתם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך ומאורי אורי אורי אשר דברי כבוד אדוני עלי נגלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצולתו חמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה יאי אליי 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 יאי אליי 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 יאי אליי 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 יאי אליי אליי יאי אליי אליי יאי אליי אליי Lecha Dodi לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קהלה פני שבת Shabbat comes in many fashions. Sometimes it's joy, sometimes it's rest, sometimes it's a bossa nova. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. Your turn. ולזמר לשמך עליון, לזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נפל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. בגלו מעשיך אדוני, בעוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, לזמר לשמך עליון. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד, ברוך אדוני המבורך
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv haravim, b'chokhmah potech she'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim b'mishmerateham, b'rakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or, umavir yom uvei layla, umavdil bein yom uvein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Imloch Aleinu Leolam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta. Unending love have you shown your people, the house of Israel. Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts have you taught us, and therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down, when we rise up, we will reflect on the meaning of your laws, rejoice in the words of your Torah and your mitzvot forever. They are our life, the length of our days. On them we meditate day and night. May your love never depart from us. Praised are you, Adonai, you who love your people, Israel.
כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו, והם נהגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem emet. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone are our God. There is none else. And we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign. You deliver us from the hands of oppressors and save us from the fists of tyrants. You do wonders without number, marvels that surpass our understanding. You give us our life, and by your help we survive all who seek our destruction. You did wonders for us in the land of Egypt, miracles and marvels in the land of Pharaoh. You led your people Israel out forever to serve you in freedom. And when your children witnessed your power, they extolled you, they gave you thanks, willingly they enthroned you, full of joy. Moses, Miriam, all of Israel sang this song.
מלכותך ראו בניך מוכי הים לפני משה, זה לי יענו ויאמרו זה לי ואמרו אדוני אם לא Adonai, mi kamocha, nehedar b'Torah, nora tehilot, oseh pele, nora tehilot, oseh pele. ונאמר כי יפאר אדוני את יעקב, וגיהלום יד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Grant that we may lie down in peace, Adonai our God. Raise us up, O sovereign, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake, be our help. Shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war and famine and anguish. Subdue our inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful sovereign, give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. Guard our coming and our going, that now and always we may have life and peace. Praised are you, Adonai, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. שמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש Shabbat ויהי נפש. יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה.
אמן.
יעלמה דברה חירותיה וימליך מלכותיה בחייכון ויומכון ובחי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה
ריחו
לעילה מן כה בכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו
אמן.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וגונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים, אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמנתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומה, יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. Shalom שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל.
From peace in the world, we turn to peace within with prayers of healing of body, mind, and spirit. And tonight our community is praying for the healing of Chana bat Gittel, Sima bat Gittel, Harav Yehuda ben Michael v'Rezel, Gloria Wunder, Rezel bat Leah, Shira bat Miriam v'Avraham, Sheila Keenan, Eliezer ben Avraham v'Rivka, Chana Miriam bat Semach, the wounded of Israel, the 138 hostages held in Gaza, our alumni Shinshanim serving all over the country, and the wounded, the soldiers, and the civilians of our spiritual homeland. At this time, if there are names to be added to our prayer for healing, I invite you to share them aloud so we can join our prayers to yours. At last count, I believe there are around 100 toddlers and their parents downstairs right now celebrating Tot Shabbat. And so I took the opportunity to write something a little serious. And so despite how it may actually initially appear, my Devar Torah tonight is not actually about Taylor Swift. There is a famous chart called the Billboard 200, which, since its creation in 1945, has tracked album sales throughout the United States of America. And for years, if you'd looked at it, you would have seen that the Beatles were the most popular artist with the longest staying power in the country. They had set the undisputed record for the most consecutive weeks in the top 10 of music sales, which means that for every week they were continuing to sell music, sell records, sell CDs, sell MP3s. They were in the top 10 consecutively for 382 weeks, which is roughly 7.5 consecutive years. And this week, Taylor Swift dethroned them and broke the record. I don't think that this should surprise anyone. You cannot, after all, escape Taylor Swift. She is, in fact, right now more than a person in many ways. She is a leading figure in the zeitgeist, the mood, the spirit, the soundtrack of our time. She's the motivating energy of our crowd. And if you know a young person, and I will say right now that part of her power is that the young person can be anywhere from someone in their mid-40s to someone who is not yet in their early teens, then you know someone who has considered seriously going to see her tour. A tour, by the way, which when it comes to Toronto this November, will cost you currently, at minimum, $2,600 for a ticket with an obstructed view. And they are in short supply. And it is that communal group energy, that kind of crowd mind thinking, which everyone is aware of in this room. We have all experienced it in some way. Even if you aren't going to the concert, it's not a new phenomenon. Today, it's Taylor Swift. In the living past, it was the Beatles. In the future, it will be someone else. And as I told you, I'm not really talking about Taylor Swift and her relatively benign influence tonight. I'm talking about the power of the crowd. An energy, a will, a pull that is so incredibly forceful, it can bring people who have little to nothing else in common together in an emotional, passionate, consuming, unified response. And above all else, it has the ability to make something appear reasonable and sensible. Because after all, everyone is doing this right now. But as creative and unifying as such an experience can be, there is also a huge danger in it. There is a massive danger in the power of the crowd, and it is on full display in this week's Torah portion, Ki Tisa, where once again we relive our nation's greatest shame, which is that at the foot of Mount Sinai, while Moses is retrieving a Torah literally written by the hand of God, the Israelites who escaped from Egypt, who lived through the Exodus, who have seen the wonders and seen the miracles with their own two eyes, they decide this week that it's time to build themselves an idol, a golden calf. And despite the best efforts of Aaron to dissuade them, and having just received very clear instruction just a few weeks ago that this thing is a full-on moral failure, the Israelites demand that they do it anyways. In our Torah portion this week, the group mind is so strong that it makes a great many people think that the most unfaithful, the most foolish imaginable choice is normal, logical, reasonable, sensible. It allows them, in fact, to ignore their very reality, a reality that they themselves lived through, because upon seeing the calf, they declare, "This is your God. This is God, O Israel. This is the God that took us out of Egypt." How could they have forgotten? How could they forget what they saw at Sinai? How could they forget Egypt? How could they embrace something they know will destroy them? How could they change their morality so fundamentally as to make this decision okay? And the answer is because the will of the crowd and its ability to make the reality it wants is very, very strong. I want you to think back to October 17th, when the Hamas-run media outlets in Gaza and the Hamas-run health ministry declared that hundreds, perhaps even thousands of people had been killed in an Israeli airstrike on Al-Ali Hospital. The claim was shared widely, reported by credible news outlets, and everyone said the only reasonable, the only sensible thing to do right now is to condemn Israel for war crimes. And it was entirely made up. It was entirely false. Credible evidence made it clear that this was not an airstrike. It was a misfired rocket, fired by Palestinian terrorists. The hospital had never been hit. It was a parking lot. And the death toll was not in the hundreds. It was not in the thousands. It was actually unconfirmed entirely. But there was a crowd that needed that first case, Hamas's case, to be true. They needed it for their morality to be secure. And by the time that the actual truth was reported, the few news outlets who did run a retraction ran it so quietly that there was no fanfare. And I would encourage you to go try to find it on CNN and CBC Today. I tried this afternoon, and a quick search function did not bring up the attack at all anymore, let alone a retraction. And we are here again this week, in this exact same situation. If you turned on the news this morning, you would have seen a headline that said, "An IDF attack has killed more than 100 Palestinians seeking aid." It describes a scene where innocent people are run over by trucks trying to escape gunfire, where soldiers shoot live rounds into needy people who have just come to get food, who they in turn stampede and kill more in their haste to get away. And there is once again a crowd who is desperate for this to be true, because their morality needs it to be true. This, says the crowd, is what happened. Reasonable, sensible people will stand with us. And they really don't want to remember the last time that they tried to will this broken reality into being. But we do. This week, it is an undisputed fact that humanitarian aid trucks entered Gaza and were immediately swarmed by thousands of Gazans in need of aid. And the need for aid is indeed dire in Gaza, and it is dire because of Hamas. Because Hamas steals all of the supplies that come into the strips in order to feed their fighters and to protect their supporters. And regarding the disastrous, deadly crowd, yes, the IDF agrees, yes, there was in fact a stampede. Yes, there was a firefight. But they were actually two separate incidents at two separate locations, two separate interactions. They are two separate tragedies that have been conflated into a single uninterrupted event by Hamas, and through Hamas out into the media and into the crowd. And so what I'm sharing next is the account taken from the IDF and is supported by video footage and by drone footage. And you can look it up, and you can watch it yourself after Shabbat. In the first incident, there are thousands of Gazans mobbing an early morning aid convoy that is accompanied by IDF tanks. And many people were killed, and hundreds more were hurt and crushed by each other and by the trucks and by the cars that they are indeed trying to loot. And you can see the drones capture this in real time as the IDF fires warning shots into the air and tries to break up a mob. And you can see the trucks, who are driven by Palestinian contractors, who drive away from the maddened push of the crowd and the sound of gunfire, and they run people over. And it is terrible. It is awful. It is horrific. It is a brutal reminder of how tragic this war is. And it is one more terrible example of how miserable it is to be in Gaza right now, where Hamas gleefully uses every moment of suffering as a tool of oppression against its own citizens and as ammunition against Israel. And to make matters worse, it feels futile, because the few trucks that managed to get away from the push of the crowd then arrived at their destination and were immediately ambushed by armed terrorists and looted all the same, just like their previously unguarded predecessors. And that is the first incident. And the second incident, the IDF clearly reports that later, after all of these supplies have been looted, there a small group of Palestinians starts to approach an IDF tank, not an aid truck. And once again, just as they did earlier, the IDF fires warning shots. And once again, this group refuses to disperse and continues to advance. And this is what they say crosses the line of engagement. because sappers will regularly approach tanks to attach explosives to them, to kill the people inside. And that means that when civilians approach a tank and will not go away after being warned off, the soldiers are indeed ordered to fire. And they killed those 10 people. And that is awful. And it is tragic. But it is also at the feet of Hamas and these Palestinian terrorists who have eroded the rule of war for decades, who have created a reality repeatedly where when a group of civilians approaches a tank, the soldiers need to be trained to treat them as a threat rather than to treat them as people in need to preserve their own lives. And all of the things I've told you today, which once again have video evidence, is not what the crowd sees. It is not what the crowd has decided happened. The crowd has decided that this was a massacre perpetrated by the IDF. And in this case, the crowd is the president of the EU and the president of France. And the crowd is a group of South American presidents and the foreign minister of Germany. And the crowd is the same shameful representatives of South Africa that brought their sham genocide case to The Hague. And the crowd is no doubt assembling in the streets of Toronto. And the crowd, of course, includes Hamas. And if one believes that the goal of this war is the genocide of the Palestinian people, rather than freeing the remaining Israeli hostages, or dismantling a terrorist organization that openly expresses genocidal intent, then the story Hamas is sharing about the aid convoy works out quite well. Because if you believe that, you will understand that only an evil, genocidal regime would stock a convoy with aid, employ drivers, guard it with soldiers and tanks so that they could lure out civilians. Only a genocidal force dedicated to ethnic cleansing would allow aid from critical nations and organizations into its borders, and then screen it multiple times at multiple checkpoints and bring it to people for whom it is meant for, and then decide to fire indiscriminately into a crowd. And only truly evil people would risk the lives of their own soldiers in enemy territory to deliver real, fully accessible containers of international aid to a population that it means to massacre in the next minute. So if you've bought into that lie, if that's the logic that you're following along with, then yes, I suppose Hamas's version of this tragedy makes perfect logical sense. One could call it reasonable. One could call it sensible. In fact, it makes about as much sense as building a golden calf. I don't know enough Taylor Swift lyrics to have a pithy ending for this evening. But I do know that despite what many voices in the world want to believe about Israel and the Jewish people, that we are not a genocidal nation, and we are not an evil people, that we are fighting a war. And it is a terrible war. It is ugly, and it is brutal. And we did not want it. What we want is our people back. And what we want is safety, not only for us, for the people who will live with us. And we are not going to let the voices of the crowd shout us down and twist who we are. No matter how loud they get or how much they insist. Because we know who we are and we know what we stand for. Shabbat Shalom. The words of Aleinu look to a better time, a better world. We offer them tonight on page 139. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
I invite the mourners to remain standing, and the rest of us are seated, if only for a moment. This evening, we mark the yahrzeits of the following: Irving Aaron, Sarah Bacher, Jacques Baruch, Ida Bloom, Arthur Cohen, Gitte Krangel, Leo Danson, Francis Davidson, Claire Denneberg, Mitchell Duckman, Beth Duviner, Harvey Fingold, Eunice Fogel, Leo Frankel, Moshe Glazer, Aaron Goldstein, Jonas Goldstein, Joseph Goldstein, David Goodman, Ethel Gottfried, Sophie Hausman, Elizabeth Cortege, Ahuva Krieger, Mort Levy, Benjamin Linz, Belle Miles, Sander Mamet, Abraham Nashman, Rebecca Nowak, Annette Pearl, Bernard Pickard, Shanna Pijaka, Marvin Polan, Francis Pustel, Paul Rigger, Rachel Sala, Samuel Sachs, Jean Silver, Sheila Sloan Berkovitz, Mildred Snyderman, Michael Steinberg, Dennis Stone, Magda Strauss, Myron Tarshis, Belle Weisfeld, William Willer. And we remember, too, those who have died most recently, whose families are in the period of Shloshim: Herbert Ronald Binder, Louis DeVore, Renee Katzman, Neil Leibovich, Jim Letterman, Mark Rotish, Steve Rubin, Gertrude Seelick, Mitchell Tans, Shirley Tesler, Mildred Ulster, William Sam Warner, and the fallen soldiers of Israel. Are there names to be added to our memorial this evening? We join our hearts to our nation tonight in remembering the Right Honorable Brian Mulrooney. He leaves a legacy and long list of accomplishments, and the Jewish community joins with all Canadians in mourning his passing. He was a fiery defender of the Jewish state and an ally of Canada's Jewish community. As Canada's 18th Prime Minister, his dedication to our country throughout his distinguished life and career strove to ensure that this was a better place for all of us. Our prayers are with his family and all the lives he touched over his 84 years. May his memory be for a blessing. We rise as one to honor God's sacred name, Kaddish Yatom, and to support our mourners. Page 142. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah. Amen. Be'alma divarach Yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. B'chayechon uvyomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. B'agala v'zman kariv imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amongst us, amongst our people Israel in all lands near and far. And together we say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav. עולמיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. Kiddush, page 439. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho me'ahava v'ratzon hinchi lanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh זכר לצייר מצרים קיוונו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל החמים ושמר קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת לחיים.
Oh, what a beautiful challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz v'te'avon.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharein, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moechem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ay ay Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharein, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ברך לי לשלום מלכי השלום מלכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שאיתכם לשלום מלכי השלום מלכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא איי שלום עליכם מלכי השערים, מלכי עליון, ממלך, מלכי המלכים הקדוש. ברוך